Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, episode number 104 with Martin O'Neill of Jeet Kune Do Ireland. Because we haven't even done a technology test. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, and welcome to episode number 104 of the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. If you're joining us live, that's great. If you're watching the replay, that's also great. My dialogue partner today is another guy that I've met only through social media, but I feel like I have a basic handle on what he's about since he was nice enough to send me a copy of his book right here, the Jeet Kune Do Mindset. And that's what we're gonna start on that. So, Martin O'Neill, welcome to the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues.
Thank you, Dwight. Nice to be here. Lovely to see you.
You too, man. So I want to ask you this: what made you write the book, and what made you give the book that title, the Jeet Kune Do Mindset?
Yeah, I think I retired from my social work job after 30 years, and I was kind of a bit afraid that I would start to, my brain would start to turn into cabbage water. So I decided to write a few thoughts down, and over the years, I think involvement in martial arts has given me some truths and some helpful ideas in terms of things and experiences that I've had and seen others go through. So I thought I would write some thoughts in the book about not just martial arts, but also about having a kind of positive mindset and overcoming some of the obstacles and slings and arrows that life can throw at us, Dwight.
Great. Yeah. So, okay. So I knew I had read somewhere that you had been in social work.
Yeah.
So being a martial art instructor is pretty much just an extension of that then, huh?
I thought so, and certainly my involvement in JKD and learning more about Bruce Lee and what he stood for sort of gave me a deeper, I think, a deeper understanding of, and also some of the tools to apply to my work and my life and to my own JKD group.
Yeah.
So kind of one thing kind of merged into another, and I thought it was helpful, you know, and sort of Bruce Lee's ideas have helped me in my life and some of the obstacles that I've had to overcome over the years.
Yeah. So how come Bruce Lee? Like, what's the history of your like when you first got to know about Bruce Lee and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was obviously Enter the Dragon came out and just exploded, and everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee, and I was included in that gang that I wanted to. When I saw him, I went, I want to be that guy. He's such, you know, he can beat anybody, and if I was like him, that would make me strong and invulnerable, and all the rest that went with it, and then. Everybody in Ireland wanted, you know, the cinemas were packed, and people spilled out of the cinemas after that onto the street. I remember going to see it in Dublin, and people were just kicking each other down the street. Young guys just kicking and punching each other. So excited about the whole thing. It was incredible.
I mean, isn't it funny though? That's the same phenomenon all over the world. You know. I mean, I've spoken to guys from the UK before, you know, Steve Carriage and Tommy Carruthers and everybody pretty much reports the same thing.
That's right.
And that's exactly what we did down in the islands.
You
know, we saw. Although we didn't have the problem with censorship that you guys seem to have, right? I mean, they cut out a whole lot of stuff, I've heard.
Yeah, a lot of stupid editing, and the government got very, you know, they got completely paranoid that everybody would run about hitting each other with nunchaku. You know, it's just ridiculous because it's just such an awful weapon anyway. But so it was just crazy. They had you know, legal cases and so on taken and banning certain aspects of his movie. It was just ridiculous. You see what goes on television now. It's just crazy.
Yeah, we didn't. Fortunately, we didn't go through that, but we used to hit ourselves in the head more with the nunchaku than hit each other.
Oh, I did it too. Yeah. I bought a pair of oak ones one time in London, actually at the European Kyokushin Knockdown Championships, I think I bought him off Bay Logan. He was standing in Crystal Palace. I think it was him.
Oh my God.
Huge nunchucks, and I went to demonstrate them in front of my class about a few days later and hit myself over the head with them. And it was ridiculous. And I looked around the class when I did it, and I was sort of really looked at them with an evil eye, sort of daring to laugh at me.
So you were okay. So you mentioned being an instructor. So give me your martial art history. Then you started out in what?
Yeah, I started in Waterloo Karate in Dublin in the Parnell Square Dojo with Brian McCarthy in 1975, a long time ago, and that was a tough school. That was a school where the basics were emphasized, a lot of sparring, and I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. I'd heard of Bruce Lee. I wanted to be him, and I used to charge at the color belts and just charge at them head down. And they used to love just punching me. I think they used me as a heavy bag for a long time before I got a bit of sense and learned a bit of strategy.
Right.
But that was my introduction to martial arts, and that was a good hard school. And then through that school, I got into kickboxing, PKA kickboxing had just come out in the States. Then it came over to Ireland, and I got into some karate tournaments and fought PKA, got my ass kicked quite a few times at kickboxing, but learned a lot in terms of, how to box and ring strategy and so on. And following that, I started to train with a team of bouncers who were boxers. They were amateur boxers, and they really knocked me around the ring. I had to really learn I tried karate on them, but it didn't really work.
Right.
And I had to learn how to box and keep my guard up properly, and learn how to do that. The guy who taught me a lot of lessons was a guy called Mickey McConville. Mickey was a little guy, and I was super fit at the time, really fit, and he was introducing me to boxing, but in a very tough way. And he used to knock me to the ground, and when I got back up straight away, he would say, "Marty, you're very fit, aren't you? You're very fit." And he used to just beat me up again, so it was great fun altogether. But lost quite a few brain cells through that process, I must say.
Okay. So what Jeet Kune Do? How did Jeet Kune Do get to Ireland?
Oh, I think it's down to Liam MacDonald, who was one of the first people. I think he was the first guy to run seminars. He brought over the Krause brothers, and then he brought from Glasgow, and then he brought over Rick Young.
Right.
And then he's run lots of seminars. He's more into Sealat now, but I think Liam was the first one. And then I met the Krause brothers, and then became an apprentice with them. Did my apprenticeship with them, and was on their instructor course for 5 years or so. But through Liam, then I met Rick Young and did some training with Rick. Then after that, sometime after that. So that was a good introduction to JKD. That's my introduction to it.
Are the Krause brothers still around?
I think so. I think they are. I don't really have contact with them, but I think they're still around. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't even remember what year it was, but I met them in my early days, and I started in '83.
Yes.
And they were not, when I met them, they were not brand new. They had been involved for a little. Do you happen to know if so those guys, so Rick Young and the Krause brothers, they would have been introduced over in England, right, to JKD?
I think so. I think so, through maybe Bob Breen, and I'm not exactly sure of the timeline on it. I'm not exactly sure, but certainly Bob Breen would be Guru Bob would be the kind of godfather of JKD in Britain, I think.
Right. Yeah. Alain de Preter.
Yeah, Alain. Yeah.
Give me the story there. Who's that?
Yeah, Alain the Predator is a student and instructor. He's a full instructor under Sigum Taki and Sifu Kimura.
Okay.
And he's one of my instructors, and he's a very dear friend and he's like a brother to me. Alain, he's a lovely guy. He keeps a low profile. He lives in Antwerp, in Belgium. At the moment, I think he's on an elephant sanctuary out in Thailand, working as a volunteer. So he's a great guy, you know, a really brilliant guy. Hopefully, you could interview him sometime. I think he'd be well worth an interview. You know, he's a very interesting character.
Okay.
Great martial artist.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about, you know, any suggestions that you have. So I'll put him in the queue. So you mentioned the Kimuras, and so your lineage is first Inasano lineage through Rick Young and the Krause brothers.
It's really the Krause brothers, yeah.
Okay, and thereafter through Inasano.
Yes, let's see. From the Krause brothers, then I left, and then I spent a few years just training with my little group, and then I got in touch with Lamar Davis.
Okay.
I brought Lamar over for a seminar, and then I went to the States and trained with Lamar and I did an apprenticeship with Lamar for 5-6 years, and then I did my full instructorship with Lamar in 2004.
Okay.
So at that time, I had also met Taki and Andy Kimura, just very briefly. And then I brought Andy Kimura, John Little, and James Bishop to Ireland to do a lecture series at Trinity College Dublin and the Queen's University in Belfast on Bruce Lee's philosophy. And it was purely on Bruce Lee's philosophy. It wasn't on the martial art as such, although Andy did show us a little bit of trapping and so on. But it was purely on his martial arts ideas. And certainly it was a really enjoyable and something really different for Trinity. The people at Trinity College, I had to go and see the head of one of the heads of the course, and they just looked at me and went, "Bruce Lee? Bruce Lee philosophy? What are you talking about?" You know, the lecture was really brilliant, and John was interviewed on the national radio in Ireland, and did a short interview with a guy called Dave Fanning, who's a big DJ, and he's a big Bruce Lee fan as well. So really nice interview was done at that time, and that was in 2000, and I felt great about it because I wanted to showcase Bruce's ideas, and his philosophy to the general public, and got a good bit of exposure at that time. Which was just great, you know.
Well, I mean, if you think about that, then is the forerunner to what Shannon Lee is doing with her podcast, because their podcast doesn't focus at all on the martial aspect of Jeet Kune Do. They focus on Bruce Lee's philosophies, Bruce Lee as a thought leader. So are those recordings available anywhere?
I think James Bishop probably has some of it. If you got in touch with James, he could share. I don't think the quality is brilliant, but it's the process itself. I'm sure James has some of it. So
that's incredible. Have you heard of other people doing that? Like just a public lecture on Bruce Lee's philosophy?
Not recently, no.
No, right?
No, I don't think so.
What made you think that the Irish people would be interested?
The Irish are like I think a bit like yourself, interested in stories. They're really we're all storytellers.
Okay.
And love hearing stories, telling stories, embellishing the truth.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the authors that Ireland has produced, I mean, there's some great storytellers among them. So I wanted Bruce's story to be presented to the Irish, and there's a great response to it. In terms of the obstacles that were put in front of him were really, really difficult. And the racism that he faced, and also what I was where I come from was a background where in Northern Ireland, where I live, terrible sectarianism, which is almost like a parallel of racism. So when I saw Bruce's story, I went, he has overcome racism, sectarianism, and bigotry. But the thing that the thing that really interested me was when people hated him and put him down, he'd never hated them back. He just went, okay, that's the way you think about it. I'm going to find another way. He didn't hate back. And one of the things that I thought the Irish people, certainly in Northern Ireland, with the trouble that we have been through, could relate to was the lack of hatred that man presented and the example that he presented in his life, how he lived his life, and his just his story. And I think, you know, certainly young people, when John Little and James and Andy came to my youth club in Clan Erin, that where I teach, I've been teaching there as a volunteer for over 30 years. The young people really related to Bruce Lee and what he was doing and could see, and the way certainly Bruce's message can relate to the lives of young men, particularly, and young men who are going through profound difficulties. I don't know what the suicide rate is like in America, but in Northern Ireland and in Ireland and Great Britain, there's a huge suicide rate and massive depression and mental health issues for young men. So I thought that Bruce would have something to say to encourage young men to have some hope and overcome some of the obstacles that they're facing in their lives. So that's where I was coming from, Dwight, in a nutshell. Yeah.
No, I get it. So, but see, that's the answer to why it's mindset.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it. Because okay. Let me confess something to you. When you sent me the additional photographs, the one with you surrounded by the little dragons.
Yeah.
I've got this feeling out of that one. I'm like, this guy Martin is so intent on doing what he can to not even fix the minds, but give these kids the tools. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
From that picture.
Yeah.
Am I onto something?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I love teaching the little dragons. That photograph was taken on Tuesday when they were getting their rank test. We give them stripes and 1 or 2 belts were given out, and they did a little bit of sparring, and it's all very fun-oriented, game-oriented. But the basis of what we're trying to teach the little dragons is to be a good person, to be helpful to their mums and dads, to have good morals, and we have an anti-bullying ethos within the class. And it's a lot of fun. We play games, and the martial art is just in the background a little bit. So, hopefully they're getting a little bit. I was asking them on Tuesday night, did they know who Bruce Lee was? And they did know who he was. You know, and not a lot of kids know about Bruce Lee. Even young men don't really know who he is. They might have an idea, but you know, we're teaching Bruce's message to a new generation. Some of those kids are only 5 years old and they know who Bruce Lee is. So it's real interesting. So we're giving little bits of the message out in a way that you hopefully understand.
That's so indulge my curiosity, because this is how I wrote the question, right? The question says, what's life like in Ireland? Is it a hard life? That's how I wrote the question.
Well, I suppose life can be as hard as you make it in ways. It's both a wonderful place to live, and it also has its downside like anywhere else. It has the same problems in many ways as you would be facing in your communities in the States.
Yeah.
We have very wealthy people and very poor people. We have a sort of a safety net here, which is called the National Health Service and so on, which I think people in America can fall from. If they get ill and they haven't got proper insurance, they can fall right through the safety net. In Ireland, in Great Britain, there's at least some semblance of a safety net to help people who may get ill and maybe can't work or be off work for a while. So there's something there at least, even though it's it's minimal. Life here is pretty good. In Northern Ireland here, we've had the peace process. We had a conflict here, as I'm sure you're aware of, for about 40 years of conflict. A lot of terrible things done. A lot of people hurting. Some of my friends were murdered. It would have been easy to get into a blame game and blame the other side. I think we're all to blame in some shape or form if we don't stand up for what's right. But we have to. I think we also have to forgive each other for the mistakes that we've made. But I think Ireland in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland are generally positive places to live. But having said that, everywhere has its own challenges and difficulties.
Yeah. Here's another silly question. So how are the Irish different then from the Scottish and the Welsh?
Oh. Yeah, that's a good one. We're all very proud of our heritage, I think, but I wouldn't let it spill over in time. We're better than you, or sometimes it's a little bit of what we would call banter, or having fun with each other.
Right.
Everybody thinks that they've got their culture somehow better than others, but I don't think it is.
Right.
I think that we've got something to offer in terms of our heritage and our culture, and the way we can laugh at life and laugh at ourselves. I think if we all did that, it would be better. But certainly the Welsh, the Scottish, the Irish have what we would call a Celtic heritage.
Yeah.
From the European Celts who came over and conquered like a long time ago, thousands of years ago. So
Right.
there's some of that still exists, because the Welsh have their own particular language, the Scottish have Scots Gaelic, and the Irish have Gaelic. So language, customs, culture, music, heritage, certain amount of drinking, Guinness and whiskey, and singing, and generally loving life would be, I think, a good way.
Right.
Describe us. Yeah.
So that kind of makes you then the perfect guy to be part of Lamar Davis lineage, Inasano lineage, and Kimura lineage.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah, all very different. All very. Yeah.
You've been living that your whole life, man.
Yeah. It's been a great journey meeting all those people, and certainly JKD has given me a very wide circle of people that I've met, people who have influenced me, incredible kind of martial artists, and just really, really bright, articulate thinkers. People maybe not so much around like that, but people who are great fighters who wouldn't necessarily articulate like that or be intellectual, but are very, very smart fighters. So all sorts of people that I've met have influenced me and been part of my journey.
Right. So give me an idea of, you've got these, let's say, primary sources, these three primary sources, but now you've got to put stuff together to run your own club.
Yeah.
You see, so this is one of the things that fascinates me about all the different JKD instructors.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have a common origin, so to speak, in Bruce Lee, but then there are different expressions. Let's use that word. So, what did you do? What's your approach?
I think we try to cover for someone starting off. For instance, I would start them off boxing, kickboxing, introduce the jump fan kung fu, and give them a good foundation in how to move, the mobility, stance, really the basics, the tools of the trade, I suppose. I think if a person hasn't got that, there's no point in giving them fancy techniques. And I think it's the skill sets that go along with that, the fundamentals. Why trap if you don't have to trap, for instance, the basic punches, the structure. And I think the jump fan kung fu in my time in what could be termed kind of original kind of JKD, again with Segung Taki and Andy, given me a very good, strong structure
Yeah.
And a very simple, direct, and effective approach. And then when you add in Guru Inosanto's kind of blend into that and the different martial arts that he brings to the table, but also the core of his Jeet Kune Do is incredible, because before I really started to train with him seriously, I kind of didn't understand, you know, the depth of his knowledge and background in what you would probably call pure JKD, because he knows it all inside out and back to front. I didn't really appreciate that, because I'd seen him at seminars doing a lot of different martial arts, but his insights into what Bruce Lee taught him are incredible. And I didn't really fully appreciate that until a few years ago when I really did some serious training with him.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are the things that I'm bringing to the table, and I'm trying to filter that to my students in a way that they can understand and I can impart. Having said that, I've had some injuries and so on, and I can't do some of the kind of the kicking techniques and so on. So I depend on some of my younger students to go and demonstrate those with things that I can't do as I get older and with injuries and so on. So I've had to change my training. And one of the things that Sifu Dan Inosanto always says is, I remember certain things that he says, and he said just generally to the class, change your training every 5 years. You have to change. You're getting older, your body's changing. You have to facilitate that. You can't do what you did when you were 25, when you're 55, and I'm now into my 60. I'm 63 now, so I can't do those things. I'd love to be able to do it, but I can't. I have to live with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one of the most misunderstood aspects of his character is that he's constantly teaching us to find the answers for ourselves, you know, rather than giving us the answers.
Yeah, and I initially found that quite frustrating. I didn't want to think too hard. I wanted them to give me the answer, but he prompts you and encourages you to find your answers,
right,
and your way. And
yeah.
He called me aside at the last instructor meeting, and he called me up in front of the group, and he called Martin, and I went, "Oh my God, what's he going to say to me?" And he said, "Martin, I want you to research Irish stick fighting." And I went, "Yes, sir." So I've gone and researched it this year. So I'm now learning Irish stick fighting, which is like a very old method of fighting. And it comes from the people who used to mine. You've heard of poaching, moonshine? You've heard of, you know, moonshine is?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, illegal whiskey. In Ireland, it's called poaching. And the
Okay.
guy who used to protect they were all illegal stills because they didn't pay tax, obviously. So the guy who used to look after that was a stick fighter who used to protect the poaching still, the moonshine still. So those are the guys who developed the Irish stick fighting. It comes as well. It comes around from different clans and so on. So it's a very old system, and it's incredibly direct, and I'm kind of loving it. You know, I'm really loving it. One of the instructors I'm working with, a friend, is Bernie Letty. He's really great instructor, and he in fact is very interested in JKD. So I'm teaching him a bit of JKD, and he's teaching me Irish stick fighting, which is great.
Yeah, he did. Sifu Dan did something similar with my student Wayne down in Barbados, and through that, Wayne became, you know, very immersed in what we call the Bajan stick licking, which itself is derived from some kind of British stick fighting as well. Yeah. So one day we'll have to get all you guys together, right? You know,
the sticks.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's incredible. But yeah, you know, you start out with Inosano in Filipino stick fighting, and then you discover everybody's got a stick fighting method.
And I ended up in my own backyard learning Irish stick fighting.
Yeah, I looked on your website. So on your website, it says I'm going to quote something, and then I want you to explain this in case somebody reads it and they go, well, they're saying this, but then they're saying this. So it says Jeet Kune Do is a modern martial art founded by Bruce Lee, and it's based on what works in the real world, not in fantasy. And then later on, it says, however, unlike Jun Fan Gung Fu and most martial arts, JKD does not have a set syllabus to follow. So I'm going to devil's advocate you and go, so is JKD a martial art or is it not?
I think it's a martial art. I think when we go through the process of the Jun Fan Gung Fu and so on, I think then it becomes our own kind of personal martial art. I think that's what Bruce Lee was aiming for, that we should clones or robots, and that we should express it in our own way according to our own body type, our own likes, dislikes, personality, and so on. Some people are more aggressive than others. And I think it's a very effective martial art, but I think there's so much kind of nonsense around about it at the moment, and people with very different and diverse opinions, which is good in a way, because I think that makes for an interesting discussion and debate. Right. But for me, the core of it is, if I wanted to, and I did, I suppose it's my journey as well. I wanted to find out what the core of it was. So I went to the Jun Fan Gung Fu. So I went to the Kimura family. I went to Lamar Davis, and lately I've gone to Sifu Tom Lamont, who's just down the road from me, who's a very high level Wing Chun practitioner, and is under as an instructor with Eric Paulson. So he has got incredible Wing Chun techniques and skills, and I'm looking even further into the roots of JKD, and I'm finding that really interesting, because it's showing me that it's not just about skills. It's about I was in a class with him during the week there, and he was looking at Chi Sao energy, not Chi Sao sets or skills, but reading the energy that the partner's given to you and working from that. Yeah. So for me, that's really important to find out, again, it's where Bruce Lee came from. And even though I think Bruce said that he wasn't doing Wing Chun anymore, I think it was in his bones. It was in his DNA. I really believe that. So I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, Lamar famously insists that you can't get JKD without Wing Chun. And then quite recently, Marvin Ishmael in Canada. Okay, so Marvin got caught up in the posting of something on Facebook, right? It was something about I forget the direct quote, but I think it came from the Kimuras, and it was something about Jun Fan Gung Fu being the path to Jeet Kune Do or what have you. So, and then on the other hand, you have the people who say that towards the end, let's call it the latter stage Jeet Kune Do, somebody says that Bruce Lee had said that Chi Sao was out. Somebody says that that the trapping was no longer being emphasized or what have you, and I don't know if I want to attach myself to the end game. I'm more interested in what you're doing, going through the process myself. I think by going through the process, you end up finding your own questions, finding your own answers, and having the similar experience, and then you come out on the other end. I don't know if I want to attach myself to the end product.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't think I'm doing that. I'm just interested historically of where it came from, the situation and so on. And I found myself at one point in my JKD journey it was like I'd climbed to the top of a tree, and I could see around me, but what I found was I was getting confused because there was so much going on at the top of the tree, leaving the branches and so on. So I decided to climb back down the tree and look at the roots again.
Right.
I've gone back up and down several times.
Yeah.
Try to clarify some things. So I think that has helped me. I don't know if it'll help other people, but it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back at times. But I do think that I am going forward. I don't want to go. I don't want to go and invent a Model T Ford or something like that. I think JKD is a brilliant art, and where Bruce Lee unfortunately left us far too soon. But what he would have done with it, I'm not sure. But I think it's very, very effective. But I also think that, you know, the different aspects and the different parts of the history are also effective as well. It depends what you're interested in. Because some of the things that he was doing, for instance, I think at the Chinatown side, I just can't do anymore. The really dynamic kicking sets and so on, they're beyond me. So I have to go and do some other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. The part you mentioned about the personal expression. Sometimes I wonder if that is, I'll use a topical word, if that's maybe a little bit too liberal, because then aren't people able to then say that just about anything then is their Jeet Kune Do?
Yeah, I can see your point. That would add to the confusion and the mess, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that if people put enough time and effort into, as you said, the path, and learning properly about the Jun Fan Kung Fu and so on, I think then they could choose their own, not interpretation, but their own kind of favorite kind of things that they like to emphasize and do. I mean, there's no point in trying to do JKD if you're not at least a bit fit or have some degree of fitness. So there's no point in being an armchair JKD guy or a keyboard warrior or saying this or saying that. I think you have to put a bit of effort in, a bit of sweat, and make a contribution to the art and to the learning, and to try to promote it, and to share it the right way with people and with students. And, you know, hopefully I'm doing at least some of that. But I think we're all open to criticism for whatever reason. I don't know. But I do think that it would be easy to confuse and to get into this kind of classical mess or chop suey of anything then becomes JKD, and I think that's not a good thing.
Yeah. So you got to put the work in order to make smart choices when you do the personal expression.
Intelligent choices, I think.
Yeah.
If we look at what Bruce was doing and saying and has written, he was making very intelligent, smart choices about what he was doing, very scientific choices, but also that those choices were based on his journey, and his journey had come from Yip Man right through, as you well know. So even though people might have said he said, well, maybe Chi Sao is out, he already had that integrated. He knew he could use that mentality and those skills without really thinking about it.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. He could say Chi Sao is out after having done a ton of Chi Sao.
Exactly.
So I don't want to come along and go, well, I'm not doing the Chi Sao because Bruce Lee said Chi Sao is out. No, I want to do the same ton of Chi Sao and then make a decision whether or not it's out.
Exactly. Do the work. The work has to be done.
Yeah.
And a lot of effort and research and development, and then perhaps you can say, this is my JKD. But without the effort, the work, the intelligent research and development, I think it's a waste of time. You end up you could end up in a very bad place or a confused state. And I think Bruce was trying to clarify what it was, but unfortunately he left it before.
Martin, do you see parallels in everyday life? Do you see parallels with the JKD situation?
In terms of being confused?
Well, I'll give you an example. So, you know, we've got the political thing going on here right now, and a lot of times you'll find one group accusing the other group of something. And then if you do the research, you'll find that initial accusers, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
Back in history, right? And to me, it's like I recently put up a picture of Sifu Dan, and it was a left lead picture, but I switched it to a right lead picture, and then got a whole bunch of comments and what have you. But what a lot of people don't seem to be aware of is that in John Little's book, Jeet Kune Do, Commentaries on the Martial Way, there's a whole section that Bruce Lee wrote about becoming proficient in left lead.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Right. So I wondered if you have, like a similar experience where it's like everything that's going on in the so-called real world, I can kind of pull it into the world of Jeet Kune Do and go, it's the same thing.
Yeah, parallel universe we're living in. Yeah, and people, the blame game is fantastic at the moment. We've just had the elections in Britain, and they're trying to get the Parliament, the Assembly working in Northern Ireland again, and Donald Trump and all the rest of it, and they just stand pointing the finger at each other and blaming each other for all the ills of society. So we can be a JKD world can be a microcosm of that, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody blaming each other on what's as Jesus said, about looking at the plank of wood in someone's eye, and the speck in someone's eye, and not examining the plank of work in our eye. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it is kind of interesting, but I've been having a lot of fun going back through two books and I should have brought them out with, but two books in particular, the Jeet Kune Do commentaries.
Yes.
And then Sifu Dan's Art and Philosophy book, and it's almost as if all the answers are in there.
They are.
All the answers are in there, and all the answers point in, well, just about anything goes. Right? But tempered with, like you just said, intelligence.
Yes.
But I don't think Bruce Lee closed himself off to anything, really.
No, he had a very open mind, I think, in terms of what he was doing in terms of research and development. He could look at things critically, and like all brilliant minds, he could look at something and within a very short period of time decide if it was useful or not useful, or could he use it, could he adapt it, and that he's a real genius that way. And I think certainly Sifu Inasanto's like that too. He's like that. He looks at something critically. Sigong Taki would be like that as well, although he's not well at the moment. But looking at something like that critically and examining it, and seeing if it's worthwhile,
right?
And if it's not, then it can be set aside, but not thrown in the trash can just yet. But it may become useful at some other point. I think some people get the wrong idea that Bruce looked at certain martial arts and just went, no, that's complete trash, and threw it away. I think he saw value in most martial arts, at least maybe even one particular aspect of what they were doing.
Yeah.
And to denigrate martial arts like that, or martial artists like that, I think is a mistake as well, because we need friends in this world. We don't need to make enemies in a silly way by, criticizing unduly other martial arts or martial artists. And I don't think Bruce was about that anyway.
Yeah, and we have to learn to be critical, to develop that analytical eye ourselves.
Yes, that's what he encouraged us to do. But it's, I think it's a big challenge to do that, and it takes a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was looking to Guru Dan the last time. I was looking for the answers, as I said earlier on. I was looking, well, what is the answer to that very hard question? And he was going, what's your answer to it?
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you, when's the next book coming out?
Oh God. That one drove me to distraction, getting that over the line, I can tell you. I thought it was a great idea at the time, but it drove me around. It really drove me silly trying to get finished, and I got great help to finish it. because it got so technical in the end. I just lost the will. I was losing the will to live at the end of it, you know. But pushed it over the line anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know when the next one's coming out, but I'm going to do I'm currently working on a self-defense mindset, a little video series, and that's going to be out in the new year. So it's a very simple, direct, and effective kind of way of the average person defending themselves in different ways on the street, about awareness raising and, you know, protecting themselves and staying away from danger, and then what to do in an emergency situation. So that's what I'm currently working on. So I'm bringing that JKD lens to bear, and sort of what I've written in the book to bear in a very short snap in a video series. Yeah.
So you'll come back and talk about that.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right. Where's the best place to get the book if somebody wants to?
It's on Amazon.com. Yeah.
Okay.
Amazon.com.
All right. And the best way to get in touch with you is what, Facebook or something?
Yeah, you can Facebook me or go onto my website, jkdireland.com. You can get me that way. But Facebook's really easy to get me.
Okay. And now tell me again the names of the people you think I should have on the program. So there's a lot, if we can find him. He's over in Thailand.
Yeah,
right?
He's going to be watching this, so he'll know.
Okay. And who else?
Alain de Preter and certainly James Bishop.
Okay. And then you said there's the Wing Chun guy that you're working with.
Certainly, Sifu Tom Lamont would be a great person to interview. He's very, 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 very good.
Okay.
He's doing, yeah.
Yeah. See, I keep telling people I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's Aladdin's cave, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's so much fun, you know, and it's I mean, the only thing better than what I do now would be being able to like come to Ireland for a few days and sit and, you know, put the cameras on you, right? You know, and then do it live in Ireland and then come back to Miami and edit the whole thing, you know.
Maybe someday. You're very welcome. You ever pop over?
Oh yeah, for sure. I will be there. All right. Well, listen, it's 8:30 here. I got to go get coffee. Right. And I'm sure you got other things to do, but I want to thank you very much for spending some time with me, man.
Thank you so much. It was great to speak to you, and very enlightening to keep up the good work with your JKD dialogues. I'm really loving it, and loving your the way that you're giving people the opportunity to make that contribution and share their stories. Thanks again, and happy Christmas and New Year to everybody. And everybody.
Right back at you. Same to you, man. You take care now, okay?
All the best.
All right. Okay. Bye. All right. Now, I think one thing happened. We didn't go live. I don't think anybody was able to see us on Facebook, but anyhow, you'll get the final edit video. So that was episode number 104 of the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues with Martin O'Neill. That's it. So you guys know the deal. Feel free to share, like, comment, ask questions. Martin and I will go through the comments, and if we need to answer anything after posting, sign up for notifications for when we go live here on Facebook. I will get the feed fixed. And also for when we go live on the YouTube, here with the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, with the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast, and with the new upcoming FMA files. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. At ilovejeetkunዶ.com. Quick Skills Series Volume 1 is still available. Volume 2 will be filmed and produced in 2020. Next time on the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, Friday, December 27th, episode 105, will be going, as we say in the States, I think we say it, across the pond again with Steve Mosley of Bruce Lee is the only dragon Facebook fame, and I think that will be at the regular 6 p.m. Eastern time next Friday. All right, so some of you I will see. There won't be on Christmas Day. There won't be an I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast, so I won't see some of you until December 27th. So in that case, Merry Christmas, and I'll catch up with you next time. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. Have a great weekend. Take care now. Happy holidays. Many thanks to Martin O'Neill for the dialogue. Check him out online at www.jkdireland.com or www.facebook.com/martin.o'neill1. Catch current, past, and future episodes online at www.youtube.com and support